Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and you may well have heard that Metroid Prime Remastered is a little bit of a masterpiece. It's an excellent game that's been beautifully remastered, but one area that has been, I don't want to say overlooked because many people have noticed it, but I don't think enough people have, is the variety in the controls. Like, there are a lot of things that you can do to play the game how you want to. And not only do I believe I found what is objectively the best way to control it, i.e. my preference, but I've also found a way that you can control the game in exactly the same way that you could on the GameCube, which is wild, and you don't really want to do it, but it's fun to talk about. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. So, when you first play the game, you'll have this default setup, twin stick. You know, you move around with left and you aim with right. It's tale as old as time. It's almost as standard. And I'm getting some scan data. I don't need this! I've played the game so many times. And the game is absolutely perfect with this control scheme. You know, I don't think you really need to change anything in order to get the fullest experience. You can play this game from start to finish with this standard control scheme and be a happy bunny indeed. However, we can improve it. So in case you don't know, you press minus to get into the inventory menu and press L to get into the options, and this is where you can start fiddling. And we're gonna look at all of those, including one that I've never actually tried, which maybe I should have done before I started recording. So the first and obvious thing, which anyone who knows me will know that I do, go down to camera, stick and gyro, or gyro and stick, whatever you're doing now. This is, for me, just a much more comfortable way to play. You can... I didn't want to go in there. So you can do big sweeping movements with the stick, but then you've also got this fine control, and I've already shown my hand for another thing that I'm going to add on later on, or rather is already enabled, and I forgot to disable for this. But I love the motion control, I absolutely do. It makes the game feel just so much tighter and more responsive and more modern, and it means that you can play it in arguably a sort of fresher, sort of more modern way. Like, twin stick is great, don't get me wrong, but this is just like, it's twin stick plus. I thoroughly encourage anyone out there to at least give this a go. You can turn the sensitivity down. Like, I think I've got the sensitivity not like super high by any means, but yeah, here we go. So I think I've got them slightly above average, but even then, that's just from fine tuning, and that, I can't remember if that's default or not, but I thoroughly encourage you to try out the gyro and stick. It's just, it's absolute heaven, and it's like butter to control. When you've got gyro down, it's very hard to go back. I mean, you can, but it's still very hard, you know. But there is one more thing which is already, yeah, it's already enabled. So we turn it off temporarily just so I can show you. So one of the big features of this game, which was largely due to limitations, is this lock-on feature. So as you can see, I can just lock on and shoot, and it allows you to have more movement options when you're trying to defeat enemies, rather than being forced to, you know, sort of try and aim and move at the same time. Twin sticks were a thing at this point, but at the same time, Nintendo decided not to use them for some reason. And this is a more than cromulent way to play the game. You know, you don't have to worry about aiming and stuff like that, but I like a little bit more control. And so what you can do is, in the same menus, you can change lock-on free aim, and I change it to gyro. I don't want it on stick and stuff like that. I just don't feel it's necessary, because I actually feel that, in a weird way, having the lock-on like this is actually a disadvantage. See, you've got more control, absolutely, but you then, all of a sudden, you're not reliant on the flipping lock-on from doing all the aiming for you. You've suddenly got to kind of balance it ever so slightly. They haven't respawned. Now, obviously, I'm going up against very simple enemies here, just to show you, and also because I don't really want to spoil any of the game. You can probably tell that I'm a decent way through it now, because but it kind of gives you the opportunity as well, if you want to, like, okay, locked onto that, but really I need to focus on that, but you don't want to lose your lock for whatever reason. That sounds like something that would never happen, but honestly, I found it happens more often than I'd like, and it just feels like I'm more in control and the game is just not doing as much for me. I don't know. I just like it. But there's one more wrinkle, one more thing that I like to change for my personal perfect control scheme, and that is swap beam and visor. Because, you know, when you need to change beam, if you got it on the standard controls, you have to hold X and then press a direction on the D-pad. And that's fine, but I find I actually need to swap beam way more often than I need to swap visor. I mean, I suppose the only exception to that would be the scan visor, but even then, it's not like I'm using it all the time. I'm much more likely to be in an area where I've got wave beam doors and ice beam doors and various enemies for which there are preferences between those two things. And so it's really nice to just be able to use the D-pad and quickly swap between things mid-combat rather than having to hold X and all that. And I don't use the X-ray visor that often. Is this a spoiler? Is this a... I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this was in the promotional material when it first came out. Massive side note, not important at all, but you can see Samus's skeleton. And if that's not ludicrously cool attention to detail, I don't know what is. So if all you want to know is what's the perfect control scheme, well, buddy boy, you're looking at it, and it looks something like this, and it is glorious. I kind of want to go up against some harder enemies, but I also don't want to spoil anything. This game is going to be new for so many people, and frankly, you deserve to experience it firsthand. So we're just in this area. It's fine. Could have gone up against the Parasite Queen, I suppose, but I didn't think of it. But there are loads more control options, and we're going to have a look at all of them, because I want to give them all a fair shake. So we're looking at dual stick at the moment with some minor adjustments. Pointer. This is a throwback to the... Oh yeah, it's going to make me do this, isn't it? Hell yeah, good collaborate control. Ah! So this is essentially what the Wii controls were like, and I'm using a Pro controller. I think generally it would work better with... I just tried to move the camera with the stick and changed my beam. I think it would be better with 2 Joy-Con, but I don't know that for certain. And for some reason, A is fire, and I that's what it was. Yeah. But why is it not trigger? Why is trigger reset the... Ah! This is something that a lot of people probably don't know. In Morph Ball, that's the button it is with a different control scheme. Well, regardless, in the Morph Ball you can jump by using a bomb, obviously, but also you can go wah-ha! And I don't know if the game ever actually says that. Also, if you're using twin stick, you can just use X, which is a lot easier. But I don't know, I'm not sold on the pointer controls. It just doesn't really do it for me. Again, it is better. You see, it just keeps resetting. I'm trying to fire. Can you change that? Can you make it fire with ZL? No! So let's try hybrid. Now, this is kind of between the two, and... What? Oh! Okay, I get it. So this is like halfway between the GameCube, which is the one we're going to come on to next, and the Wii, presumably? Like, I'm shooting with that. Oh, that's weird. Oh, you hold ZR and you can aim with the gyro. Oh, I mean, it's fine, but why would you just use twin stick at this point? Oh! If you use hybrid, more power to you, but yeah, that's going to be a no from me, dog. And lastly, we have the classic controls. Now, these are based on the original GameCube controls, and these two are kind of wonky by modern standards. Can you... Yeah, you can't... You move... Oh, you move and aim with the left stick. Oh, it's... Oh! So you move with the left stick, and you turn with the left stick, and you aim by using the lock-on feature, essentially, or you can hold ZR, and it's inverted, and... Yeah, can you change the inversion? I'm pretty sure you can. Spring ball sensitivity still there. That's always a welcome thing. Invert... original map button, yeah, that's something we're going to be looking into. Swap X and Y inputs. That's something I'd recommend if you're doing this, because otherwise Y is going to Morph Ball, which is not what the original control scheme is. I'm surprised that's not the default, frankly. And you can swap beam and visor, but I don't really see any sort of major merit in it. It's nice that this is here for the sake of completeness. What is weird, though, is the scan visor's on the left D-pad button in this mode, but then when you change it, and I'm not going to, like, try and bamboozle you. Let's just go back to dual stick. I have not helped matters. Forgotten I'd swap those things around, but right, okay, so classic, right. You'll see scan visors, D left, yeah, D left, okay, yeah, no problem. And now I go to twin stick control scheme, or dual stick, sorry, and it's on the right, and I don't know why. But there is one more thing we can do, and we can use a GameCube controller, and it's a headache, and it's not worth doing it. It's a lesser control scheme, but for the sake of completeness, let's do it anyway! So this is going to be interesting. I'm using a GameCube adapter, like a proper USB one. Not official, because the official one was expensive. I did buy one, and then I sold it because I needed money. We're talking back in the uni days. This is a Wii U adapter, technically. Now, is this going to work, or is it going to... I'm going to need to disconnect this first, aren't I? Pro tip, if you ever need to disconnect a Pro controller or a Joy-Con, you know the little sync button? Press that once, it's off, baby! Oh, it's control. Okay, it's working. Okay, so we're on classic controls. This is seen as a GameCube controller, so I believe mostly the buttons will be accurate. Okay, yeah, Y is still morphball for some reason, but R is seen as R rather than ZR, and Z is seen as ZR, which does the same thing in this. But that doesn't work. We can go to the map, but the map is with the start pause button, and that's just not going to work. You will also find with this process that you run into the problem of not being able to get into the options menu, because that's how you get into the options menu. And that ain't the options menu. So I've reconnected this controller, and I have to start doing some funky gubbins. So the GameCube controller is plugged back in. I think I just need to press like A or something to get it to register. Whoa! Well, I don't want to do that! So we need to go to change button mapping, and we need to... cannot be changed. Okay, it's official. You can't use a GameCube controller if you want to get into the options menu. I mean, you could argue you don't need to get into the options menu, but you probably want to get into the options menu. But you can get kind of close. You know, this is still interesting to be able to use a GameCube controller like this, the classic way that it was supposed to be controlled, and actually it feels a lot more natural with a GameCube controller, just because, you know, I hold a GameCube controller, I get these visuals, and I immediately expect to control it as though it's the original GameCube version. And now I've said that, I'm now absolutely gagging for some dual stick and motion. But those are all the control schemes, and I still absolutely love the control scheme that I use, which is unsurprising. I thoroughly recommend you give it a go, even if you don't always get to open the door that you want to. What do you like? Do you like the pointer controls? If you do, if you even like the hybrid, which I can't stand, but you know, everyone has different, what's the expression? Everyone has different strokes for courses of horses. So let us know which control scheme you like to use in the comments down below. Look up Samus, let's get at least something vaguely interesting to look at. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you maintain control of that subscribe button, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.